Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, the only way to know if this episode is counterfeit is to try to donate it to Blathers. Or to just use a guide. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We are going to be talking about the news from the week, including new updates to both Super Mario Maker 2 and Animal Crossing. And then on Thursday, we are going to be celebrating the conclusion of Retro Month with the return of some definitive rankings. But Mark, in the meantime, how you doing?
I'm doing so good.
Yeah.
It was like so hot over the weekend in LA.
Yes, look, I know we retired our weather segment, but I can no longer be silent on this matter. It was 98 degrees on Friday.
The weather segment is always there in our back pocket when we need it, because sometimes we have to talk about weather. And I know we are not a a weather-related show, but the fact that we used to do weather and guest weather means that we always have the option to talk about it with no repercussions.
Yes, of course. We always have the option. It's always there, and no one can take that away. Mark, I need to tell you something that happened with my Nintendo Switch just moments before we started recording.
Yeah, I've been in suspense since you told me you had something to tell me.
I said, I have something to tell you, Mark. Something happened to my Switch. It was sitting on my desk. With Joy-Cons off, right, and out of the dock, and I picked it up, and I was like, this needs to not be on my desk so I can do a podcast with my friend Mark, and it kind of brushed against my bed, and the kickstand fell off.
Oh my gosh.
So my question now is, what do I do? Do I just try to jam it back in place?
Was the kickstand engaged when you threw it?
So I didn't throw it. I did.
When you tossed it carelessly into the
That's
wall.
Right. Thank you. When I slammed it against the wall. So I don't know. I think it's possible that I was absent-mindedly picking at the bottom of it. But I don't really have any recollection of what I was doing with it. I do not recall, sir, is my answer.
Okay, you don't want to incriminate yourself, and that's fine. That is acceptable on your own podcast. The law says we can't make you incriminate yourself if you're recording a podcast.
This is true. Anything that you say in a podcast cannot be used against you in the court of law. That's why they made that Serial podcast.
Exactly. So if it were me, and it's not, clearly it's you, I would not worry about the kickstand because I never use it. And so to me, the kickstand not existing is not necessarily a negative thing because I don't know that I've ever used it.
So here's the thing. I also do not use it frequently, or at least had not. But in the last 2 weeks, I have really taken to setting it up next to the TV when I'm watching a movie, when I don't have anything else to do during these times that no one has anything to do. And just sort of doing casual Animal Crossing things while I watch TV or something. And because I've got such severe Joy-Con drift, I don't want to be holding it. I want to use my Pro Controller. So I have been using the kickstand.
That makes complete sense. In which case, I think your only recourse is to buy one of the Animal Crossing special editions from wherever you have to get one.
Mark, you monster. Okay, look, that's not going to happen. Just like you're not going to be able to borrow my copy of Sonic Forces. But if you would like to get on the list to eventually someday borrow my copy of Sonic Forces, it's easy. All you gotta do is email us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com and give us a mailing address where I can send my copy of this game for you to play. Someday, we'll be sending things through the mail again. And it'll be beautiful, and you can play it for as long as you want. And then you send it back. It costs you what? Nothing. It costs you nothing.
I don't want to jinx this, but I think we figured out the @gmail.com thing, and I think that our original plan actually worked. But we thought we were like too smart for it.
Yeah. No, I think we're good now. It's starting to sound right. I don't know that it'll ever be like perfectly in
Right.
sync.
Mm-hmm.
But and when I say never, I mean someday you and I will be in the same room again.
Speaking of someday being in the same room again, thank you to everyone who has added us as friends on Switch. It has been such a delight to have the friend requests rolling in, to see what everybody's been playing, to see everybody online with Animal Crossing and not playing Animal Crossing. It's been a while since I have opened up my island to just like everyone to come hang out, so I should do that this week.
Every now and then I just see which of my friends have their islands open, and we'll just visit a random island that's open. And usually I am met by someone like running to the airport to be like, who is this that's coming to my island? And then they see that it's me, and they're like, oh, okay, never mind.
Well, everybody's a big Smashing Pumpkins fan.
Look, if you don't know, I'm doing a little Billy Corgan cosplay. I'm wearing a black T-shirt that says 0 on it, and it's got little stars on it. They won't let me be bald, so I can only be so Billy Corgan. And also, look, if anyone has a lead on any silver pants, I am looking for Billy Corgan during the Bullet with Butterfly Wings video, which means he's got the black tussly hair and a black shirt that says 0 on it and silver pants. I can't find silver pants. If anyone has them, please let me know. I would love to buy them off you. Okay, Mark, let's get into what we've been playing this week.
Okay, wait, before we get into it, one thing I failed to add when I was thanking everybody for adding us as friends is that you can find our friend code in the description of every single episode of the show. So you should add us as friends. It's a lot of fun. And if it's not a lot of fun, it doesn't harm you in any way.
That's right. And we accept all friend requests. I've
Right.
not turned down a single one.
No, because the stakes are so low. What have I been playing? Animal Crossing, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I've actually been taking a little bit of care with my island, which took me, I've been treating my island kind of like a dorm room. It was just kind of haphazard. I would throw things together, and you're like, yeah, that's like kind of nice. But then I've been visiting other people's islands, including yours, Patrick, which is like so well like laid out and thoughtfully maintained that it inspired me to like at least take baby steps in that direction. So with the update that we'll be talking about a little bit later, I bought some like hedges from Leaf and created like a little hedge maze. I had like a little like fairground, like amusement park area that I've kind of like guzzied up a little bit. So that's where I've been spending a lot of my time, is just on these like little projects, like spending an exorbitant amount of bells to move buildings around on my island. So there's actually beginning to be some semblance of a master plan.
That's wonderful. I have thank you for your kind words about how my island is laid out. I had a very fun time visiting your island on Saturday when we were playing for a little bit. Saturday was a good social day on Animal Crossing for me. Kelly came over to my island for a while. Previous guest, Kelly Nugent. I went to my friend Trisha's island. She came and visited me for a little bit. You and I hung out. Saturday was like an Animal Crossing heavy morning for me. I probably put 4, 5, possibly 6 hours into that game. But it all feels like it feels very social, right? And even the times when I'm not, online with other people, I'm still sort of like engaged in thinking about how other people are playing the game, and like, does Kelly need these flowers? What can I get from Mark? Everything. What can I take from Mark? Yeah, it's a game that encourages me to think about the other people that I know that are playing it. But I also wanted to say that I have not spent any bells to move any buildings on my island except for my own home. Every house that I've placed, um, I have like built the town sort of around like my early decisions, and it does seem surprisingly well organized in retrospect, but it was not at first. At first, I was just like, Sheldon, you go here. Agnes, you go here. I don't know.
You've also been doing some like flower crossbreeding.
Yes, yeah, thank you for reminding me. Yes, so I looked up some flower crossbreeding optimization charts for like a 5x5 grid of planting flowers of different varieties and colors in ways to maximize the crossbreeding of new flower colors. So it's it is I feel like a mad scientist. So far none of it has paid off, but I know it takes a couple days. But I set it all up on Friday, so it should start to pay off soon. I don't know to what end I am doing this, other than I just want to have grown all the flowers on my island.
Right, you want to play God on your own island.
That's all I want. All I want is to play God.
Also, for people like me, and I think you, Patrick, who have not caught a tarantula yet,
oh yes,
the end of April is the last opportunity you have to catch a tarantula if you're in the northern hemisphere. And if you're in the southern hemisphere, that is true for you for scorpions, and then they will flip in May. So we will get in the northern hemisphere, we will get scorpions, and our friends in the southern hemisphere will get tarantulas. I don't know why I forgot. I had just said that word moments before.
Can I confess to you that both scare me? I don't like either.
Well, the thing that I am finding frustrating is that I like really want to catch a tarantula, and I've encountered them multiple times, but I'm always too slow on the net.
Too slow with the net.
Yeah. So, but one day I am hopeful that before the end of the month I'll be able to pull it off.
Mark and I also were playing a little Super Mario Maker 2 together. This is the first time that we tried to do this, although I think we talked about trying it before. That we just go in and play some competitive and some co-op levels together. And I know, Mark, you said that you had some experiences trying to do it with randos, where like the infrastructure chugged or it wasn't working, but it was a really smooth, fast, fun experience when you and I did it.
Yeah, I had tried it way back when the game first launched, and it was basically impossible to play with just like random people on the internet, and I haven't really tried since then, so I don't know if it's improved with the updates. Did you have a chance to check out like the world builder or like play other people's worlds?
So I have not, but I figured we could talk about that when we get into the news.
Sounds fair.
One last thing that I did play this week, there was a Tetris Maximus Cup in Tetris 99. I am sorry that we did not alert you to that. It was another one that they announced, I believe, after we recorded, but maybe we just weren't paying attention to it. It was Ring Fit Adventure themed, so I was like, oh, I got to get in there and get this, get the theme. And on my second game, I got a first place victory and got the 100 points. And I was like, great. And then I put it down.
The closest probably either one of us will ever get to owning Ring Fit Adventure.
Boy, that's sad. The price on that still hasn't budged. It's the secondhand sellers are still going for like $280, $290, which is ridiculous. Okay, well that's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
On Wednesday, April 29th, SNK Gals Fighters is released on the Switch eShop. This is the only reason it came to my attention is because I saw Jeremy Parrish from Retronauts tweeting about it, being like, I can't believe this is happening. It's a Neo Geo Pocket color game from 2000. So it's like it's celebrating its 20th birthday this year. I think it's cool that just like random games like this are showing up on Switch.
It's also kind of impressive how good the SNK fighting game like as a genre is represented on Switch. And I don't know if this is the first Neo Geo Pocket fighting game that's in here. I mean, obviously, Pocket Rumble was a sort of like homage to that, um, which is a game that I like re-picked up a couple months ago now, and played for a little while. And like the game really does have like a finite amount of like appeal to it, right? Um, but I mean, SNK Gals Fighters. I mean, come on, man. It's got the gals in it. It's got all the gals.
And then on Thursday, April 30th, there's a new Sega Ages released. It's a G-Lock Air Battle, which is a combat flight simulator. And also Streets of Rage 4 is released. This is a sequel that has the blessing of Sega, but is developed by, at least in part, by Emu, which is the same devs that did the Wonder Boy Dragon's Trap game from 2017 and the forthcoming Windjammers 2. So they're kind of like carving a niche out for themselves with these like retro-esque games.
Yeah, it's cool that I wonder if they were like approach these things where like, oh, it'd be cool to do a spiritual sequel to Streets of Rage, and then they're just like, let's just see if we can do a Streets of Rage.
Yeah, and I think like it's fun that we're kind of reaching the point in some of these franchises' lives where people who grew up liking the games are like in a position to make a spiritual successor that could potentially just turn into the real thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Do any of these games that you mentioned interest you to the point where you may actually pick one of them up?
I don't think so. Gals Fighters, like I don't know fighting games that well, and definitely SNK fighting games that well. Combat Flight Simulator, not my thing, and then Streets of Rage 4, like beat 'em ups aren't really my thing either.
Oh, I wonder if we could play that one online.
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
I'm gonna look into whether that one's got online multiplayer, because that could be fun. Now I'm thinking about whether the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle has online play, because if it does, I'm gonna make my friend Pete buy it, and then we're gonna play those games together. Pete, if you're listening to this, you're on notice. We're probably gonna buy this game and play it together. All right, so let's get out of the new releases. It's time for a regular segment on our show. It's time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, today, of course, we are talking about articles of clothing that require more maintenance than simple washing. Before we get into that, what's the laundry situation in your house? Do you have a designated laundry washer? Do you guys do your laundry separate?
We do our it's a team effort. We
Okay.
don't do our laundry separate. It all goes into like a single hamper, and then we'll just like we have a combo washer dryer, which means like it takes a really long time to do like one load of laundry. So if we have a full laundry basket and we're like, all right, we're gonna do everything, then it
Yeah.
takes a good 2 days, like full 2 days, to like get through everything.
Wow. 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 Is that in the unit?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. Wow. um, yeah, I mean, for Sarah and I do our laundry separately. And I don't really know why that is, but that's what we do. Articles of clothing that require more maintenance beyond a regular wash. Do you have like a bunch of clothes that you have to take to the dry cleaners, or anything that you need to iron?
Yeah, so I think we both have like lots of shirts that we should iron,
Yes.
and we own an iron and an ironing board, but we never iron. And my mom, she did such a good job of teaching me how to iron, and I've basically forgotten it. Like I can fake my way through it if I'm going to a wedding or something, but to do
Right.
it like well, or to do it in the proper manner that you're like, yep, this makes sense and saves time and like all that kind of
Sure.
stuff. Like I have totally forgotten how to do it well.
Yeah, well, I've certainly forgotten how to do it quickly. Like it takes me a long time, and I'm always like a little bit afraid of the iron, because it's hot. Um, but I feel like when I do it, I do a good job of ironing shirts. And sometimes I'll just get like a little like bug in my ear of like, you should iron all your shirts, and then I do it. And then everything looks great for a week and a half, and then they've been in the hamper again, and then everything's wrinkly.
Well, the other thing is that for the past few years I've worked at a job where um like it doesn't require like the dress code is pretty loose. And
Yeah.
so, like wearing a collared shirt, maybe like a polo or something, but like rarely have I had to wear shirts that like require ironing. Or if I do, I'll like keep do it during winter when I can hide it underneath a sweater or something.
That's a good move, though. That is a great move. And also, like, for most weddings, you're also like wearing a jacket too. So, like, by the time that jacket comes out off and you're on the dance floor, like, no one's gonna see the wrinkles because your shirt's already soaked in your own sweat. Is that just me? That might just be me.
I will also say that like having this is the first time in I don't even know how long that I've had like a washer dryer in my apartment. And that for me was a game changer because before when I was going to a laundromat, it was like, no, everything is going into as few washers and as few
Yes.
dryers as possible. So I'm picking the most like milk toast setting and hoping that it all just like evens itself out.
Well, right, because at some point you're just like, is it technically getting clean?
Right.
And look, laundromats, I mean, I'm glad they're there, but like, there's no. A laundromat is. I can't even think of like a good analogy. It's the place that you want to spend as little time there as possible.
It's
Right?
absolutely the DMV of laundry for sure.
Yes, 100%. That you're spending too much time there. You wish you were spending less time there, but you have to go. Um, I also I do have a few articles of clothing, beyond like my suit that are dry clean only. Like my Luke Skywalker flight jacket. I won't have that washed in any way other than dry clean. And which means it is frequently dirtier than I would like it to be. But also,
It's Dagobah
I,
dirty.
it is Dagobah dirty. Thank you. It's
Do
supposed to be a little grimy.
we trust the hand wash cycle on washing machines?
I don't think we do. No.
But I guess we'll never know for sure.
I guess we'll never know for sure whether we trust it or not. We were accompanied today by the K2 Orchestra. All right, Mark, let's get into the news.
Okay, so as sometimes happens to us, immediately after we stopped recording last week, Nintendo announced two big updates. First, the final update for Super Mario Maker 2. And the update launched on April 22nd and included a bunch of wish list items for this game.
Yeah. So I know that I wrote the beginning of this news item saying that it is the final update. They said it is the final major update. So there may be, who knows what else in the future. But yeah, they specifically called this the final major update, meaning, yeah.
Probably like what we saw with Splatoon 2 where they're like this is the final content update, but there's been continual, like maintenance and smaller balancing and things like that.
Yeah. So what? It's kind of amazing that this thing was announced and came out over the course of like 2 days, when we hadn't really heard anything about Super Mario Maker since that Zelda update a couple months ago.
Yep.
It feels like a very weird rollout plan for DLC.
And totally par for the course, I think, for how Mario Maker 2 has been handled. Or it's just interesting because the way that they, and I don't know, part of me sometimes is like Nintendo's, the way that they like announce these updates and roll them out doesn't really make any sense. Right, like they're like Mario Maker 2 one is coming, and also guess what? This like Animal Crossing thing is happening, and we're tweeting this on the same day, and then like it'll be months before you hear from us again. So like just have at it. But on the other hand, it's like, sure, why not? You either have like rabid fans like us who are paying attention to this stuff, or you
Right.
have more casual fans who are paying attention to one or not the other. And it doesn't really matter how you're metering it out.
It also might have been that like they were saving some of this stuff for like a direct or something, and then we're like, you know what? The other stuff that we were going to announce with it, they're not ready. Just put out the two videos separately, and like, again, like it's honestly, I love, of course, I love a full Nintendo Direct that is like, here's a little look at everything. Here's teasing some enormous stuff, but like, yeah, here's 4 minutes about what's new in Super Mario Maker. Rad.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. So yeah, let's get into like what is new in Mario
Let's
Maker.
do it.
There are of course new power-ups, including some like Super Mario Brothers 2 stuff for the first time in a Mario Maker game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Super Mario Brothers 2 mushroom, which turns Mario into the Super Mario Brothers 2 or Super Mario USA version of himself. Which means that you can like land on enemies without killing them, and then you can pick them up. It also means that when you're in a snowy level, you can just pick up a snowball out of nothing.
Yeah, it also means that what is its name? Phanto?
Yeah.
The like evil mask that follows you around after you pick up keys in Super Mario Brothers 2. They included that in here, which is I think a lot of fun to see that included.
Yeah, totally.
You also have the frog suit from Super Mario Brothers 3 that also lets you run across the surface of the water.
Which was
You
not a functionality of the frog suit before. It used to just be that you could swim more easily, that like you push up to swim up, down to swim down, instead of like having to jam on that jump button. It seems like that functionality is back here, but also we can run across the water. Did we see him like hopping around at all? Because there's like a reduced mobility thing as
right.
well.
I don't remember if we saw it in the video.
Okay.
And I haven't encountered a level that used it yet.
Okay.
We also got the power balloon from Super Mario World, which you like inhale and it puffs you up and you can like float around for a little bit. Although you have a note here that it behaves a little differently than the original game.
Yeah, so again, it's not one that I've actually encountered, but from the video, it looks like they are like changing the direction that Mario is facing, and like blowing out gusts of air to like propel him in one
Oh.
direction or another. Whereas in the original, you just sort of like float and you can kind of drift left or right. Um, Really, it seems like it's got a little bit more momentum and speed to it than the original P balloon.
You also got the squirrel acorn from New Super Mario Brothers that gives him like a squirrel suit. The boomerang flower from Super Mario Brothers 3D World or Super Mario
Uh,
3D World.
Yeah, which is great. And I'm so excited to see more of the Super Mario 3D World power ups in here. That boomerang suit is so much fun, and like you can use it obviously to kill enemies or to like hit blocks and like trigger stuff. So it seems really cool.
You also got some of 3D World's box heads, like the cannon box, the propeller box, the red POW box, the Goomba, and then like a Goomba mask, and also one that I think is totally new, which is just the Bullet Bill mask.
Yeah, which like gives Mario a like vertical flight sort of thing. It reminds me a lot of like capturing a bullet bill in Odyssey.
Then you also have the Koopalings, which is all 7 Koopalings available in every theme, and they contain different moves and attack patterns, which is fun to see because a lot of times I feel like in the more recent like times that we've seen the Koopalings, they are just like skins of one another.
Oh, sure, like in Mario Kart or Smash Brothers.
Mm-hmm. Then we
Yeah, I think it's really cool to see them in here. If for no other reason than like boss fights in Super Mario Maker come in like two varieties, right? There's a giant Bowser and there's a giant Bowser Jr. and like that's all people throw at you. And so it'll be really cool to just have a tiny bit of variety to have the 7 different Koopalings in here.
and some new course parts, of course. So the cursed key, which is a variation on the key that makes Phanto, the mask from Super Mario Brothers 2, chase you. There's an on and off trampoline. The Mecha Koopas are here. There's in different variations. So there's standard Mecha Koopa. Then there's red Mecha Koopas that shoot like homing missiles out of their mouths, and then blue Mecha Koopas that shoot laser beams out of their mouths.
Now, as far as I can tell, blue Mecha Koopas that shoot laser beams out of their mouths, that's brand new, right? Like, we've never seen that before.
Have we ever seen red Koopalings that shoot homing missiles out of their mouths? Not as far as
No.
I'm aware.
No, me neither. It seems like there are a lot of places where like, oh yeah, we're missing this thing. It should be in there. And then they're like, what if it had 4 more functionalities? It's like, oh god.
And then there's also noted here that it's all of jet engines at night. I don't know what that means.
They all have jet engines on them at night, so they all fly around when you're doing a night version of the levels.
Gotcha. And then probably like I feel like one of the most requested features since the original Mario Maker for the Wii U is World Maker. So
yeah,
this allows you in like the Super Mario World theme to build paths, bridges, hills, warp pipes, and you're connecting them like world level to level. You're building this overworld. So instead of having to do just like one level at a time, you're kind of like stringing your levels together. And if you're building them with a theme,
yep.
like one of the ones I did was all built around Mecha Koopas. And so like each level kind of upped the ante on the way the Mecha Koopas were being used.
That's so cool, man. It's this is definitely something that feels like it has the potential to change the way people approach making levels in this game. So many of the levels that you and I were playing together this weekend, and so many of the levels that I've played in the past, seem like they are making sure to maximize, to like really wear out an idea and really fill up the space in the level. But I think if you know that you're going to be connecting your level to other levels, that you don't need to wear yourself out on any given level. If you know there's a sequel to it coming up later, or what comes next, that you don't have to, burn the idea to the ground in order to feel like you've actually done it.
Yeah, totally. And like I like that they included some of the other stuff that we would expect in an overworld. So they have a bonus game. They have like the match 3 bonus game from Super Mario Brothers 3. They have different themes for the overworlds, like some classics like Grassland, an underground theme, desert, snow, sky, forest, volcano, outer space, and then you can have like 8 worlds and 40 levels. So you can basically string all of your levels together and create an actual like Mario game for the most part, which is just like really cool. And of course there are limitations to what you can and can't do, but I feel like this was something that people have been asking for so long, and it felt so obvious, but like one of those obvious Nintendo things that I didn't think it was actually going to happen.
Yeah. So, do you think that this update, now that it is out, actually gives? I feel like it has the potential to give Super Mario Maker 2 like a new lease on life. But does it actually? Like, are these updates well known enough? Is it publicized enough? Is it a big enough deal to get the game back in the hands of creators and therefore back in the hands of players who really want these more full game experiences?
I still feel like for Super Mario Maker 2 in general, and for like my experience with it specifically, that I really need somebody to be curating which worlds and stuff are like a fun, good, well-designed use of my time. Because on Saturday when I was playing through a couple of the worlds, they had like good levels, but a lot of it was just kind of like the frustrating stuff that you see in like Super Mario Maker 2 all the time, where it's either like too hard or too complicated or too long. And I really wish that like Nintendo was more active in highlighting like really good examples of what these levels should be. Like if they're not going to create them themselves, that's fine, but like on your social media team, I feel like it would be so great for somebody like me if I could just follow like a Nintendo feed and that they would be highlighting like, hey, check out this world, like this is one that's just like best practices, because otherwise I think like the levels aren't that fun to play, so it's like
Mm.
not like enough to get me to like go back and keep trying, because the few that are good is not worth waiting through all the other ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I definitely do know what you mean, and it does seem like, I mean, I know curation and discoverability is a problem on all kinds of platforms, especially ones with user generated content, because sort of the most like gimmicky stuff gets kind of pushed to the front just because it's easy to engage with and it's easy to like, an automatic level that like plays music or whatever. Um, so yeah, I also wish that they had a way to highlight creators and levels and worlds that are like doing the true like Mario spirit. um and I also wish that there was some sort of functionality with the Nintendo Switch Online phone app, that there was a website or something with the original Super Mario Maker that allowed you to like tag levels, to like play later on your Wii U. It's a crime that that sort of functionality is not available now. Like sharing levels is kind of it's a little bit of a pain, and it should be super super easy, especially with how well the Switch is integrated with like Twitter and Facebook. Like you should just be able to send a like Facebook link to your Nintendo Switch account, and like have that level up and ready to go.
Yeah, one of the do you remember I mean it still exists, but Smash World, I think it was called, the
Yes.
like Super Smash Brothers Ultimate functionality that's in the Nintendo Switch Online phone app. And yeah, like they had something similar to what you're talking about, where you could browse levels that other like
Yeah.
browse stages that other people had made, and you could favorite them and download them and all that kind of stuff directly from the phone app. And yeah, I completely agree, like it is a missed opportunity that there isn't something like that in Super Mario Maker 2, because I would love to be able to be like watching TV but also casually browsing through the app and just like marking ones that seemed interesting to me that I could then go back and play later on Mario Maker 2.
Yeah, it also seems like that would be a way easier way for people to like curate lists of levels to play or worlds or recommend creators or whatever. Right now, that's all very hard. Like if I wanted to find worlds that you recommended, I don't even know how I would do that unless you went out of your way to do it on like a separate platform.
Yeah, I'm not even sure how I would recommend them, other than like writing, almost like writing down by hand the level codes.
Yeah, I guess you could take screen grabs and print and tweet those out. So maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
it's still only a couple button presses, but it seems like it should be easier, or that it should be encouraging you to share stuff that you like, and it's not.
Animal Crossing also got a big update this past week, version 1.2.0. So part of it is they're like, hey, there's a bunch of events that are coming soon. Happening right now is Nature Day, which I've got to admit I don't entirely understand. And then there's a May Day tour that's happening from May 1st to May 7th, where you can use a like May Day ticket to visit a unique special island featuring Rover. Then
Yeah, this one seems mysterious. So like the Nintendo didn't really detail what happens on this new island, and also didn't explain why we haven't seen Rover before this point in the game. Rover normally meets you on the train on your way to the town for the first time and asks you personal questions about yourself, so that like the game knows you. But the Timmy and Tommy Nook did that in this one.
yeah, I like, they're it's interesting how they're using the characters. I'm waiting for Mr. Rossetti to show up, basically is what
Yes.
I'm saying, because I know that he's going to show up in some fashion, or at least I'm
Hmm.
praying he does in the future, but he won't be like warning you about resetting your game. So what is he going to be doing? We also have International Museum Day to look forward to, which is happening for a lot of May. It's May 18th through May 31st, and includes something called a stamp rally, where you can earn stamps by viewing exhibits in the museum.
Which is adorable. I wonder if you'll have to, like, if it'll require you to view exhibits that you don't have in your museum and therefore
Mm.
have to visit other people's museums.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And then finally, all of June is wedding season. So from June 1st to June 30th, Reese and Cyrus, who are two llamas from
That's
New
correct.
Leaf who had like a shop, they're getting married and you can stage their wedding pictures at Harvey's Island, which I love so much about this. I especially love how you and I, Patrick, were talking on Saturday how like neither of us had really gone to Harvey's Island. I feel like I don't really have a reason to. So I like that some of these updates are like, hey, you should go check out this thing that maybe you're not getting very much use out of right now.
Yeah, and like especially like wrapping it up in like wedding season, and that specifically that there are two characters that are getting married. Like I wonder, will they get married every year, or is this something that like we're just going to get to experience because we're playing the game during the first June that it's out?
Right. Well, jumping ahead, and then we'll come back and talk about what's left in here. Kind of like to your point, uh, the game's director, Kyogoku, said in an interview with CNET that she hopes to continue surprising players with new content in 2 or 3 years down the road. Quote, Animal Crossing is a game where you're able to enjoy seasonal changes throughout the year and it syncs with real time. And through that, you are able to basically sync your real life with the game. We want to make sure that in 2 years or 3 years down the road, players will still continue to find new surprises in the game. So we hope to create an update that you can do that with. So yeah, I wonder if, like, to your point, this is something we're going to get this year, and maybe it doesn't show up for a while.
Yeah, that I mean that would be really really cool if this game somehow, instead of having like an annual cycle like previous Animal Crossing games, has like a 3-year cycle or a 4-year cycle or something, where like there are reasons to come back to it for a long time.
So, okay, all these events sound great. The one I'm really confused by is the one that's happening right now, which is Nature Day. First of all, not a day,
Right.
unless it is leading up to a specific Nature Day. The
Okay, but the rest of them have all been called day, right?
I
Like Bunny Day was called a day.
I guess the thing that I'm confused on is like the only thing that I can tell that you're supposed to be doing is in the Nook Miles app, or in the Nook app in Nook Miles. There's like once a day. There's like a new Nature Day thing you're supposed to do,
Yeah.
and I like and Tom Nook tells you, hey, like if you participate, you can get like a special thing at the end. But I'm unclear on what the like rules of engagement are. Like, am I supposed to do the task that's in Nook Miles every single day, and then if I do all of them, I get the thing? I just don't know.
It's a great question. I think I've been doing them every day, but I may have skipped a day. Something where it was like decorate with flowers, and I was like, no, I'm planting flowers. I'm not decorating with them. And what does that mean, decorate with flowers? Just like put one down on the, pick
Yeah,
one, and then
that's
like
exactly what it
put
means.
it down. That's how. Okay. I guess I figured it out,
Yeah.
and it was super easy.
We also got some new visitors. One especially I was really looking forward to. So we got Leaf, and he sells some garden items, including
Mhm.
hedges. So he introduces hedges to the game.
He's a sloth. He's adorable. I like him a lot.
He buys your weeds for 20 bells, a like handful or whatever you call them.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. A bag full?
Yeah, a
What?
bag full of
Yeah,
weeds.
maybe.
And hedges are kind of fun. They're like not trees, not flowers, but they bloom at different times. So your hedges will be there all year long. But depending on what kind of flowers are on your hedges, will change what season they bloom in. And then the other visitor who I'm very excited to have back is Red, who is like a fox who sells you art, and when you buy art from him, your museum expands. So Blathers will now house like art you bring him, but beware because
Mm,
Red is also selling counterfeit art, and it's up to you to figure out which is which because Blathers won't
yes.
accept counterfeit art.
And neither will Nook's Cranny. You cannot sell counterfeit art to Nook's Cranny. So I don't know what to do with this painting I have, Mark, because it's not real, and I don't want to put it up in my house. Do I have to buy a garbage can just so I can throw it away?
Give it to me and I'll give it to Huck.
All right, great.
um So if you haven't encountered Red yet, he is selling the art he sells is like based on real life art, but you can
Yes.
tell the real from the fake because there's like one thing that's different or missing in the fake art than the real art. And so you totally have to like Google the original art to be able to tell if you like are really trying to like figure it out. Unless you really know your fine art.
Well, and the thing is, it's tough because it's not as though like you look at the art and you automatically know what it's called or who painted it or what. Like you got to really do a little bit of research. And the first time I went onto his ship to like buy some art, I was like, I'm just going to eyeball it. I'll see how I do. I tell you what, I did not do well. I did poorly. I bought counterfeit art. Um,
Do you remember when Amazon? Okay, do you remember the Amazon phone?
sure.
And do you remember they had that feature that I can't remember what it was called, where you could like take a picture or hold up your camera to pretty much like anything, and it would tell you what it was.
Okay.
Okay, so at the time it was like Firefly, something like that. It was like Amazon, and at the time it was like, oh, that's interesting, but like, who's gonna buy an Amazon phone? And now we're all wishing we had Amazon phones where we could just hold it up to our screens, let it see what art it is, and then tell us, so we can then like really like look at it and see what's wrong with Reds.
Yeah. What we need is a Shazam for art, is what we need.
That might exist. I wonder if this exists. Do you know what Red does that is like my favorite thing that NPCs in this game do is when they're like being like a little bit sly or something, they get that like sparkle thing that happens. I love that.
Yeah.
And
Um,
Red does it a lot.
I saw Imran Khan tweet this weekend that Red was on his island and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna deal with Red in a second." Red was just kind of like walking around, and he went to do like a mystery island thing. Came back, sold everything, and suddenly had a ton of money. And Red ran up to him. So like, Red spots a mark and is like, "I'm gonna get his money."
I really like Red a lot, and I love that he's on a ship. I am so
Yeah,
happy that he's
it's
on a
great.
ship. And then also very important, the shirts Isabel and Tom Nook wear are now available at the Nook Miles machine for purchase.
Which is perfect. I love their clothes. I want a Nook Inc. shirt. I'm gonna get one. It's gonna be great.
Also, I don't know if you like when you downloaded the update, you probably got a letter in your mailbox saying that the interest rates on the savings accounts have gone down, which I thought was such a funny detail. So mean. Like, why do that?
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense, especially because it's not like you make a lot of money in the. I think I've only gotten interest in that game one time because otherwise, for the most part, if I have money that I'm not spending on like a bridge or there was a harp in my store the other day, so you bet I threw down 130,000 bells to buy that thing. And then the next day there was a bass that I spent another 82,000 bells on. But if I have extra money, I'm paying off like a loan on my house,
Yeah,
right?
I feel like if you are really investing in the in turnips and you've like gone to somebody's island, you've been lucky and you have like millions of bells, then you could
Yeah.
probably invest, like 1.5 million and just live off the interest for, the rest of your Animal Crossing life.
Just like real millionaires. So I the other day I was like, why are my turnip prices always so low? Because my turnip prices are always abysmally low. And I looked up like a guide online to see if there's any way you can influence it, and there isn't. But the thing said that it normally ranges from 50 to 200 bells. And that there are the occasional outliers of like 500, 600 bells. But that same day that I was looking to like how to do this, my turnip prices got as low as 31 bells. 31. I'd rather they rot.
Yeah, I've never seen good bell prices. I know that they exist for people, but I have
Yeah.
never experienced it myself.
I went to someone's island to sell turnips for like 500 bells one time. And it was great, and I paid off whatever remodel I was on. But I've never seen anything even remotely good on my island. 31 bells.
A report from superdataresearch.com reveals that Animal Crossing New Horizons sold more digital copy units in a month of which was March than any other console game in history, with over 5 million digital copies sold.
Which is a remarkable little piece of information. Also, like maybe good to just remember that for as big as we think the digital console games market is, it's not as big as the physical console games market. Maybe that's different now if people are like moving to digital purchases because they're staying at home or what. But man, what a huge number! 5 million digital copies sold.
The NPD group had some other interesting sales figures for Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing is now the highest selling game, is the highest selling game of March 2020 in the United States. New Horizons is the second best selling game of all of 2020 year to date, behind Call of Duty Modern Warfare, again in the US. It's also had the third highest launch month of any Nintendo published game, behind Smash Ultimate and Smash Brawl, and then the launch month sales in like revenue in dollars surpassed all other lifetime sales for Animal Crossing games, and by units sold, it is the best-selling game in the franchise's history.
So, are we talking about this game too much? Maybe. Are we not talking about it enough? Also, probably maybe. Huge success for Nintendo.
So you might have noticed this past week like an article promoted in like the Switch newsfeed about turning on two-factor authentication for your Nintendo account, and it turns out that there's a good reason for that. I'm summarizing this from an article from The Verge, but Nintendo reported, at least in Japan, like on their support blog in Japan, that they are disabling the ability to log into a Nintendo account through a Nintendo Network ID, which is the old pre-Switch version of like Nintendo accounts that have now been like superseded by just a straight up Nintendo account.
Right.
So apparently there were like so what they say is that login ID and passwords for Nintendo Network IDs were, quote, obtained illegally by some means other than our service sometime since the beginning of April. And so people who were affected, it's like 160,000 accounts. People who were affected, their nicknames, date of birth, country, and email addresses could have been accessed during the breach. And some accounts have seen like fraudulent purchases. So Nintendo is like resetting the password for all affected accounts. They're disabling the ability to log in to a Nintendo account through a Nintendo Network ID at all going forward. And they're like recommending that everybody enable two-factor authentication.
Which is good, and they're also notifying people that have had their data possibly exposed by email. So that is good. If you get one of those emails, definitely change your password and all that stuff. Do you use two-factor authentication on your Switch account?
I do, yeah. I use it pretty much everywhere that I can, that it exists.
Good.
On a previous episode, we talked about Hamster, the company behind the Arcade Archive series, and how they had like consecutively had new releases every week for like the longest amount of time of any like video game publisher ever.
Every week since the Switch launched, they've had an Arcade Archives.
And we were worried that they were going to hit a snag because CERO, or CERO, the Japanese ratings board, is like, due to the national emergency in Japan, not issuing new ratings. But during a live stream last week, Hamster confirmed another round of games are coming to Switch. Burger Time, Burn and Rubber, Trio the Punch, and Darwin 4078. And it's possible they still won't be rated in Japan. It's not clear whether that's going to affect the release worldwide.
But it seems like they are barreling forward as though they are going to be released and that their record will be unbroken, which is of course what we hope for. Look, I'm a big fan of a video game release world record. Let's keep this bad boy going.
Yeah, we are rooting for you, hamster.
And look, Burger Time, that's an okay game. So like,
and truly, that is the one of that list that I am familiar with at all. Monster Prom XXL is coming to Switch digitally on May 21st. It includes the main game, the second term DLC, and all seasonal content released through the game's lifespan.
Right, and I know we don't normally just talk about like here's an indie game that's coming to Switch and here's a release date until we're like upon it. But Monster Prom is great. It is a competitive dating game where you date monsters in high school. So like you and other players, both locally and online, can try to romance like a jockey Wolfman, a like mean girl Medusa, and a bunch of others. And the writing is great. It is funny. It is like progressive and like just gay enough. And like I really really like this game.
Did you play it? I was trying to remember. Did you play it at Comic-Con? Is that where you saw it for the first time?
Yeah, I saw it for the first time at Comic-Con with Kelly and Ryan, and we all played it together then. And then just recently, just a couple weeks ago, the three of us were playing it online on the computer together. And I will absolutely buy this game again and encourage everyone to pick it up. It is a ton of fun and like a good way, a good like social game to play because like the dialogue is too funny to like just sit there and read by yourself. It's when the three of us were playing together, we like took turns reading the character parts and like it just turned into this like fun comedy theater experience where you know you're trying to date a robot man. So like it's great.
Some Splatoon 2 news. Update version 5.2.0 was released last week, which is mostly weapon rebalancing. Like we'd mentioned earlier, the major updates for the game are over with, but they continue to release these like minor updates occasionally. But also a new demo for the game is available from April 29th to May 6th. The demo allows players to play online with people playing the full game, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, agreed. It's I like that Nintendo is like doing these like demo periods for there's games that like need a little bit more like online or like more player base. Like Splatoon is definitely one of those, and ARMS just had you know its sort of demo period as well.
They're also going to be doing a like encore Splatfest, which is really weird. So
Splatfest is back.
Starting May 22nd at 3 p.m. Pacific time, they're doing mayo versus ketchup for
again
unknown reasons. Yeah, this was the first like official Splatfest of Splatoon 2's life way back in 2017, and they're bringing it back in the year of our Lord 2020.
Mark, I'll be honest. I'm tempted to go back for it.
It's a good reason
I love
to.
Splatfest.
Splatfest were always a good reason to go back, for sure.
Do we need to have Casey back on the show to relitigate mayo versus ketchup?
I do think we need to. The time has come. And you know, like we've changed so much since the final Splatfest. Maybe I'm just putting it out there. We need to relitigate all of them because times have changed.
Whoa,
my tastes have changed.
Yeah, great point. You should check out. We do have a previous episode where we went back and definitively determined the winner of each Splatfest. It's a great episode. You should go check it out.
I know we disavowed talking about Dr. Mario World, but we're going to do it again because on April 27th, we're getting some new doctors, and they're dumb in the best way possible and worth talking about.
Yes. So they are Dr. Lakitu, which is like a normal amount of dumb, right? But a truly exceptional amount of dumb is Dr. Goomba Tower. This is 3 Goombas stacked on top of each other wearing a lab coat. Mark, are you Googling it right now?
I am Googling it right now. And the reason I love it so much. I wanted to see the image. I wanted to see them, like being doctors. And the reason why this is really
No,
like
they're one doctor.
yeah,
They're not
that is,
doctors.
yes, that is such a good point. Like that's the part that tickles me so much is that collectively they were able to become a doctor. But separate, like if you lose one of them, if it's just two Goombas on a tower, I mean, can you even
Not
really
enough.
call it a Goomba tower at that point?
No. And certainly not a doctor.
Certainly not a doctor. So if nothing else, bless you, Dr. Mario World, for continuing to find just like the most insane characters to like grant honorary doctorates to.
Yeah, it's very good. Nice work.
Finally, yesterday, April 27th, was the 20th anniversary of The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, which is all well and good, but importantly, it's the 20th anniversary of Tingle. So congratulations to all of us for living in a world where Tingle has existed for the past 20 years.
Now, does that mean that Tingle is now a 58-year-old man?
I think Tingle is ageless. Like, good classical music and The Simpsons characters.
All right, Mark, let's get out of the news. Okay, that's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. If you like the episode, you can share it on Facebook or Twitter or wherever you share stuff. We love it when you do. Follow us on Twitter. I'm at Patrick_Ehlers. Mark is at MK Mitchell, and the show is at NinCart Society. There's also a Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music, I'm actually going to pause it right here because 8-Bit Betty, who does our theme music, just put out a cover of Prince's Nothing Compares to You that is available on his website, 8bitbetty.com, and it is great. It's got that thick 8-bit sound to it and that computery voice that he uses. It's beautiful. Go check it out. Give him a listen there. 8bitbetty.com. Do it. And also listen to this music right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ehlers saying thank you for listening.
My name is Will Hines, and I am a ghostwriter, meaning I write other people's books for them. And I have a podcast called I Will Write Your Book, which are recordings of my meetings with my eccentric clients, such as a woman blocked after one sentence of a children's book about her dogs, a romance novelist who dislikes sex, and a man proud of having sampled everything in his local grocery store. This podcast has been described as fully improvised, played by some of the best comedians on the planet Earth. Hey, that's pretty good. That's I Will Write Your Book on Campfire Media.
Campfire.